I love it that you talked about the term augmented reality and how you break that down. You kind of alluded to you're not only integrating the augmented reality into the classroom, but you actually have a discussion about what it is and kind of a philosophical understanding, looking at the technology as what it is and how it can be used. And it just seems like you maybe before you actually touch the technology, you have these really amazing conversations with your students.
Yeah, I think so. I think in teaching students how to work with augmented reality, I'm constantly trying to balance teaching them conceptual skills and ways of thinking about how to use the technology from an experiential point of view, and pairing that with the technical execution of working with those technologies. And it's always an interesting balance to try to fit, especially when I've got a really diverse set of students who are coming sometimes from art backgrounds or from computer science backgrounds or from other parts of campus where they're focusing on psychology or social work or architecture. And so finding a way to take that whole cohort of students along definitely means that, I want them to be thinking really holistically about the technology, understanding certainly about, from a technical side, at least on a very basic level, like why it works and how it uses your phone's camera if you're deploying it through a smartphone, because that can be important for the actual execution of building something and understanding why something doesn't work when you're testing it, and for evaluating different ways maybe of going about taking an idea of your head and actually executing it. Yeah, but we're also certainly talking about what it means to take in digital content inside of the context of the real world. Because I think often we don't think hard enough about, again, why are we making this? Why are we wanting to create an experience that uses this technology that cannot be created in any other way? How is it unique? How are we really using the affordances of augmented reality, what it does that nothing else does, to create something really novel? And once the students really tune into that, they start to become part of this growing body of creators that really speak the language of augmented reality, right? We're constantly trying to figure out what is this new language in this new medium. And so we start to kind of create a shared vocabulary around what we're saying, using terms that could be really specific to augmented reality. An example of some of the vocabulary that we'll start to talk about that's really specific to augmented reality can be something like occlusion. And so this is the phenomenon of when one object is obstructed visually by another object. And this is a phenomenon that we take advantage of on stage all the time, right? So we might see on stage that we're watching a character, they walk behind something, and then, when they pop out the other side, something is radically different. Suddenly they've changed costumes, or it's a different person. Something unexpected has happened in that moment of occlusion. And so there's magic that can happen when we lose sight of something and then it pops back into view again. And the same thing can happen with using something like augmented reality. Sometimes it's just as simple as watching a digital ball seemingly interact realistically with our space, watching a ball roll underneath our couch and disappear, right? This simple phenomenon can create a whole lot of delight. And so that becomes a little bit of like something that we can point to as part of our vocabulary, something we might want to take advantage of. And so there's kind of a whole, sort of list of those working vocabularies that we develop over the course of the semester.
Yeah, I mean, and part of that vocabulary, the term immersive has to be, one of the core words, descriptors that you explore. I'm sure there's a number of academic definitions. I actually looked up several of them, and they're all somewhat similar, but I'm interested in what the term means to you. So how do you define immersive?
For me, on a basic level, it means that there's no distance between what you're focused on as the user or audience member of an experience and point of your attention, right? So in some respects, it's almost easier to say, again, what it's not. So again, to point to that example of watching TV from your couch, sitting inside of a proscenium theater and watching a piece of theater that's happening safely behind the fourth wall and you at a distance. And when we're immersed in something, yeah, we're inside of it, essentially. You know, we can think about the sort of the theatrical space as almost having substance to it, like water. And we're immersed in that story world. We're immersed in the environment of it. We are able to often interact with the characters that exist inside of that story world, the objects that exist inside of that story world. And so I think for me, that's really what immersive boils down to.
That's really powerful. Even going to the movie theater, you go in, you watch a great movie, and time flies by, and if it's really good, all of your worries in life and everything are kind of set aside, and you're just in the moment. I can only imagine how your discipline can really take people away from the reality into something really magical. It's really amazing what you're doing.